Today we're going to be talking about mindset, and we're going to continue off of what we talked about Monday. And the book was The Big Leap. Great book. Now, the frustrations that we have as Christian entrepreneurs is, number one, there's a whole lot of stuff going on that we have to manage. A lot of irons in the fire, a lot of things coming at us, the economy, the inflation, the elections, Q4, and managing our mindset becomes the absolute most important thing. God flows through our mind, right? He doesn't flow through our pinky or our elbow. He flows through the 6 inches. The difference between a ditch digger and a multimillionaire is how they think. It's 6 inches, right? So what we want is we want to have a process that we can take our brain through to really unlock our potential and capacity as kingdom builders. And so I want to share with you a few things I've learned along the way that are really helpful and have helped me become a multimillionaire that I wish I would have known when I first got started. So we're going to put some resource together. If you want that, just type in mind, comment mind under this post, and one of our team members will reach out to you, comment mind. And so point number one is, when we're wrapped up in our thinking, it can feel a bit like a vortex or a tornado, where we're in the middle of this storm, this thinking storm, this emotion storm. And one of the things the Bible teaches us to do is anchor ourselves with gratitude. We enter his gates with joy and thanksgiving. It actually stills the avenger. That means stops, pauses, subdues. And so one of the things you can do that I've done for years is, in the morning, start and put gratitude on demand. Like, sit down, and I do this with pen and paper, and I write down 5 to 10 things that I'm grateful for. Most of the time, they're small things. Like, I'm grateful that I played Mario Brothers with my son the other day. I'm grateful that there was this little bird on our porch that I got to watch when I was having my breakfast. Like, just simple things that spark joy, right? And here's the thing that you can start to do, though, which is pretty cool, is you can go through a list. You close your, you go through your list, which is priming the pump. So you're priming the gratitude pump, your exercise. It's like you're warming up before you pump some iron. And what you can do then is, so you go through, you write down 5 of them, you prime the pump, you get into the zone, and then what you do is you close your eyes, and then you continue. And so you think of another thing that you're grateful for, okay? 2 or 3 more things, again, when your eyes are closed. And then you come to a point where you start to think about something that you're grateful for, but then instead of actually thinking about a specific thing, you stop and you just embrace the emotion of gratitude. Okay, so let me say it again. So you prime the pump, you think about some things you're grateful for, and then you stop. And then you almost, it's the same thought process where you're going to say, I'm grateful for, but then you don't say the thing you're grateful for, and you just experience the emotion of gratitude. And then you just savor that. Again, your eyes closed, you feel it, and you hold on to it as long as you can. And you can learn to command gratitude into your temple, into your biology. You're firing now epinephrine, dopamine, all these amazing pathways that God built us to play with and to enjoy. You can turn on just like you can turn on a light switch. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, you want to have the ability to take every thought captive. So here's how you do that. It's really difficult when we're first starting to learn how to think about what we're thinking about. And so what we want to do is, you need to have some type of a mechanism to draw your attention to when you're thinking about something that you shouldn't be thinking about. And so if you start to feel flustered, sometimes it can come on as an emotion, sometimes it can come on as an automatic negative thought that just repeats. As soon as you notice it, you don't feel guilty, you don't feel bad, you don't beat yourself up, right? That's stupid. What you do is you ask yourself these questions. Number 1, is this thing that I'm thinking true? Okay, and this is how you demolish the strongholds. This is how you take every thought captive into the obedience of Christ. Well, one of God's elements is truth. So first question is this thing I'm thinking about true? And just answer authentically. Sometimes you'll be like, yeah, this is true, right? Or sometimes you'll be like, nah, that's not true. Second question, do I absolutely know for a fact that it's true always? Now, most of the time, that will make the thing that you felt was true not so true. But sometimes you might be like, yeah, it's always true all the time. So question 1, is this true? Question 2, can I absolutely know for sure this is always true? Question number 3, and what you do is you isolate the thought and you simplify it. So let's say that, I don't know, I get into a row with my wife over some dumb thing, and I'm thinking like, my wife always freaks out about when I leave my Twinkies on the counter. My wife's always giving me a hard time about leaving uneaten Twinkies on the counter, right? Something dumb. So what you do is you isolate the thing, you turn it into a sentence, and then you say to yourself, how do I feel? So you say to yourself, is it true that my wife always gives me a hard time about leaving my Twinkies on the counter? Number 1. Do I absolutely know, is it always true all the time that my wife gives me a hard time about leaving my Twinkies on the counter? So again, you're saying, is it true? And you're inserting this statement, this belief, this thought. Number 3, how do I feel when I believe the thought that my wife always gives me a hard time when I leave my Twinkies on the counter? Right? I feel angry, I feel mad, I feel upset, whatever. And then here's the 4th question, and this is where it gets really awesome, y'all. Who would I be without the thought that my wife always gives me a hard time about leaving Twinkies on the counter? Is it true? Is it always true? How do I feel when I believe this thought? Who would I be without this thought? Okay? Then what you do is you invert it. You flip the thought around 2 times. So if my thought was, my wife always yells at me about leaving Twinkies on the counter, I would invert it and say, my wife never yells at me about leaving Twinkies on the counter. And I run it through those 4 thoughts. Is that true? How do I feel? Is that always true? How do I feel when I believe that thought? Who would I be without that thought? And then I invert the first thought a second time. So my wife always yells at me about leaving Twinkies on the counter becomes, I always yell at myself about leaving Twinkies on the counter. Is that true? Is it always true 100% of the time? How do I feel when I believe that thought? Who would I be without that thought? And so what you can do is you can train yourself to scrub out and ameliorate and just dissolve these things that the devil whips at you, right? These darts. And he basically offers them up, and it's up to you to attach on or not attach on, right? Worry, there's some training that is called bait stick. And if you look at monkeys, the way they capture monkeys is they'll put they'll hollow out a gourd, little spider monkeys, they'll hollow out a gourd, and then they'll put a piece of food in there, like, I don't know, an orange or something. And so the hole is just big enough for the monkey to put his hand in the gourd. It's a trap. And then when he grabs onto the fruit, his hand becomes bigger. And so his hand won't fit out of the hole, right? Because the hole is now too small. And if he simply just let go of the thing he was holding on to, he could escape. That's how they trap howler monkeys or spider monkeys. So don't take the offense. Don't take the thought. Don't hold on to it. Just let it go. And that's the secret right there. And so it's really important that you learn how to manage this thinking and these emotions for you to fully operate in all God has called you to be. Because the bad thoughts, the bad emotions, the worry, when we harbor those things in our precious brain, we're being disobedient to the Lord. And so we need to learn tools and tactics and playbooks to be able to take every thought captive into the obedience of Christ, which is the anointed one in his anointing. And so again, just to recap, the very first thing you can do is you can run them through the 4-question test. Okay? Is this thing true? Is it always true? How do I feel when I believe this thought? Who would I be without it? Okay? And then you can run it through the other thing we talked about. And if you start to do these things and you start to discipline yourself, that when you're feeling one of these things come on you, then you'll be able to walk really in clean thinking, and you'll press out of your brain the contaminants, the pollutants. Imagine a glass of water and you just put a couple drops of food coloring. Well, it colors the whole thing. You want clear water. You want clean thinking and a clean mind and a clean brain so that you can receive the instructions and you can calibrate to what the Lord wants you to do today, for your business, for your life, really for his kingdom. If you've dedicated yourself to him and you are seeking first the kingdom and his righteousness, then all these things are added, right? He gives us the power to create wealth, to establish his covenant. So if you're operating in the positioning that he has you in, then he wants you to have more, because you're going to do good things with it, right? God doesn't care how much money he has. He cares how much the money has you. So if you're operating where you have no attachment to the money, then you're going to be golden and you're going to be a kingdom builder. So proud of you all. Again, if you want some resources, go ahead and type in that word that I told you at the beginning, which I've already forgotten what it was, and one of our team will hook you up. Proud of you.